We are live in the new digs. Recent move. We're going to get it dialed in, shadows and lighting and everything. But glad to have Buddy here in the new place. Of course, the Pride Roofing TigerBait live show. Lot to discuss. We didn't do a show last week. LSU making all the moves in Omaha, and lo and behold, they win a national championship, 7th for the program. And we were there last night for the championship celebration and 105-degree heat index. But exciting times in Baton Rouge for sure. And so we're going to talk about that. We can talk football recruiting. Kim Mulkey welcoming in her freshman class and much more. And welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Michael. I hope everybody doing well. You know, Mike, it's kind of interesting. We asked this question on this show and on the radio show and all shows. Who would be the first of the trio of coaches, Coach Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson, or Brian Kelly, to win a natty? Of course, Coach Mulkey had already done that before. Jay Johnson had never done it before. Brian Kelly has yet to do it. But holy cow, did you ever think, Tiger fans, that you would get boom, boom, Coach Mulkey and the Lady Tigers scoring 102, 102-85 to beat Iowa and Caitlin Clark. And then LSU baseball, after getting clobbered and embarrassed 24-4, coming back to put the biggest differential in the College World Series final, 18-4, and also set the record with 24 hits. You know, I picked up this glass, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, and I said something about half empty, half glass. And, you know, bottom line is...
I was half empty. You weren't. I was half empty and you weren't. You were half full.
I was half full, but this is out to these kids out there. The best thing about it to me, and life is not fair, but these were great guys and they were champions on and off the field. You're never going to see a compliment of all of the condiments in the gumbo pot. I mean, you got Paul Skeens from California coming from the Air Force. You got Tommy White. You got all these guys. And then you have the dose of cayenne and the Trinity and onions and bell peppers with the Louisiana guys. What an incredible run. So kudos to Kim Mulkey. Fantastic. Kudos to Jay Johnson. And Mike, we talked about it. He was fantastic with his pitching decisions down the stretch.
The route that they had to take to get there. And you mentioned that Sunday, and I said Monday, you know, of course, everybody's, man, you think they're going to do it? You think they can do it? Is Skeens pitching all day long? And I'm like, I said, you know what? I think Florida's going to regret that score yesterday. I think they're going to regret it, and I think that was definitely a factor, and it helped focus that team, and they put the whoop on them. And you thought it was going to be a little bit more of the same when Florida jumped to a lead. And then the rest of the way, it's up. And then to look at the ESPN numbers. I get an email the other day. You might have gotten the same from ESPN PR detailing all the huge numbers that the College World Series did, but notably all the games involving LSU. And I think people tune into college baseball. LSU is still the brand in college baseball, even though it had been since 2009. That was a big part of it. And I do think college baseball is growing. And I think it's going to continue to get bigger and bigger. And they certainly had great weather up there. And local media were up there for a little extended period of time, and we're glad to be back. But that new Intimidator last night, or that new big Lamar sign out there. Now that's not the Intimidator, right?
No.
That's going to be. But what they unveiled last night, and the imagery of that with the fireworks going off, some of the photos that the photographers for LSU got out of the fireworks going off over that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I know the USA Today guy. A lot of great photos of that. So just a very well done event. Of course, those of us out there that were sitting out there for 3 hours were wishing it was in the PMAC.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Well, look, and I think the incredible one of the stories, there's so many stories. I've posed this question the last 3 days on the shows. What was your favorite play? What was your favorite moment? And, man, you get about 20 answers. But how appropriate, folks, is it for a guy like Paul Skeens, who came over from the Air Force, By the way, Fields of Honor, I know most of you know about his charity, up over $40,000 now. Louisiana people do it differently. And kudos to all those people who helped promote that. But lo and behold, the poster and the shot everywhere with Skeens telling Milazzo to get up on my back. We're going to the dog pile. Paul Skeens put this LSU baseball team on his back from day one. Dylan Cruz is one of the reasons Paul Skeens came here. And Jay Johnson is here because of Dylan Cruz. All these great stories. And then you throw in the Louisiana spice and cayenne and onions and bell peppers and Trey and obviously Cade Beloso. How cool is it? The hefty lefties had a big weekend, had a big 10 days. Riley Cooper, got to get him a man-defined meat sausage deal. Nate Ackenhausen, and then, of course, Cade Beloso. All big bodies that did great things.
Riley Cooper is my favorite.
Oh, three saves and a win.
I mean, how many times, look, of course, we all know JT, Jordan Thompson, his trials, and, boy, everybody, it got nasty over the weekend, all right? And then he had a great championship game. But Riley Cooper, I mean, how many Sundays and whatever when he came in, LSU fans had no confidence. You don't win a national championship without him.
Yeah.
What he did the last 2 weeks was staggering. He was phenomenal. And you just saw a story after story like that. I mean, that's what's so great about going to Omaha in the College World Series. There's so many stories of kids like that you have to step up in order to get it done.
The acronym for team, folks, is real simple. Together, everyone accomplishes more. And, you know, I talked to you about this during the season. And, look, I don't know if Jay Johnson will ever explain this or not. But we even mentioned it on this show. He was uptight for about 4 or 5 days. And I think what he's doing is trying to get his guys locked in. He locked out practice from the media, which never happens in baseball. You could tell he was just wound up. Of course, I made the joke, let's get him some Boudreaux's butt paste. Mm-hmm. Well, a day or so later, Wes Johnson, it gets leaked out that he's getting the head coaching job at Georgia. And, of course, Jay had to address the team. He was going to do it the next morning, but it broke that night, remember? And so after that news came out to me, Mike, it seemed like a different Coach Johnson. We have talked about it, folks. If you were uptight and your players sense that, and it makes them play tight. And now you got Jay Johnson doing the Tommy. And, oh, by the way, how cool was it, folks, to see Paul Maneri, who recruited a lot of these players, Skip Bertman. I don't care if you live 300 years, you'll never have another Skip Bertman. I found a
just moved, folks. I found the Skip Bertman bobblehead right in front of Buddy.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jay Johnson, the 3 LSU baseball coaches taking pictures. But the fact that they get along, and I got a little tidbit in a parallel with Jay Johnson and Brian Kelly, but something about Louisiana changes this coaches. I mean, Kim Mulkey never changed. We know what she brought to the table. Brian Kelly is a totally different and happier coach and a better coach, and we see great things coming. But Jay Johnson, remember how uptight he was? Man, he's talking to his team. He's firing people up. What a great culmination. But to do it in year 2 for both Mulkey and Jay Johnson, I think, certainly is ahead of time in anybody's book.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let me get to some of your comments. If you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. Very much appreciate when you guys do that for us. Helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Of course, the show brought to you by our title sponsor, Pride Roofing. We'll talk about Mike and Alex a little bit later in the show. Very proud of some of the stuff that they've got going on. And, of course, they're blowing and going over there in Albany, Louisiana, and helping a lot of people out with hail damage right now. Rick Kelly, hey, Mike, with all the pitching injuries this season, was it possible for Nick Storrs to return to the baseball team this year?
No, he was done.
Yeah. Rick Cloetti, no incidents off the field all year. Talk about dialed in. Greatest team in some time. You know, and it's also one of those deals where, like Buddy keeps talking about, the gumbo or the stew, where you've got guys from all over 4 corners of the United States, all with different storylines. Skeens with his Air Force storyline, Tommy White, Tommy Tanks, Dylan Cruz, the kid that was just astonished everybody by going to college rather than going pro out of high school. and on and on. Kay Beloso, who almost gave up baseball. And
put off his wedding to play this year.
Yeah. Guys getting their eyes checked and eyes fixed and everything else. I mean,
Gavin Duke got popping his shoulder back a couple times. Brandon Jobert, Jay Bombs, the last 2 games of the year, and Jordan Thompson. Once again, this, of course, you have to be more heavily involved in social media than me, but I'm glad somebody told him don't read social media because he was in a slump like nobody.
If I was one of his teammates, I go find him. Hey, what kind of phone is this? And then I run off. I take his cell phone and I would have ran off.
But I'm saying the crowd backed him. The crowd was so pro LSU, and in that second inning when they got 6 runs, they backed Jordan Thompson, and that kid will never live that down. But how cool was that for that crowd to actually try to get him through? And, man, you know he had to have pressure the first couple of ground balls.
Well, and of course, the biggest thing of all is nobody puts pressure. The reason why he was putting pressure on himself.
Sure.
And so the crowd doing what they were doing, and I enjoyed it. Him walking out through the fence in center field last night, and them chanting it again. So, but yeah, it was not pretty on Sunday, and of course when he was playing well Monday night, we do our game threads on TigerBait, and we're like, oh man, everybody was getting after JT on Sunday afternoon. But then on Monday, it's like, shame on all you guys for talking about JT like that yesterday.
But see, that's what you get with the LSU fan base. You get that passion. You get that spice. You get that constructive criticism. But, Mike, when you see the impact, the crowd, and I don't know, I never got a percentage from the people that went. We talked to so many people that have come back. But it looked like about 90-10.
Oh, it was 90-10.
LSU to Florida. And they took over that stadium second inning. It was unbelievable.
I messaged Kendall Rogers. And, of course, he was there all several weeks. And Jacques and a few others. And of course, Kendall's going to be impartial. He's with D1 baseball. He's the guy. And I said, man, on TV it looks like no less than 85-15. And he goes, no, it's like 90-10 LSU. And Jacques said the same. And then you got to figure in that 90-10, how many of those are actually like Omaha residents that are wearing purple and gold?
Well, there's some.
They get tickets to it.
There's some, but it's been 14 years since LSU won, of course, since 17, since they were back. But
the Omaha people are LSU people.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This was the best monetary economic impact, I think, ever. First of all, everything's much higher now. So we know from dollar amounts that's not going to be relevant. But
have you talked to anybody that was there for the whole time?
Yeah.
What was their total bill? Did they tell you?
I would not disclose.
If some of you were in the chat and you were there all week and you care to disclose what your total bill was if you weren't eating steakhouses every night and drinking bottles of wine, I'd like to know what your total was. If you were there from day one all the way to the end, your hotel, meals, air, whatever. I'd like to know what your total was. I bet you for a lot of people it was closing in 8,000 to 10,000.
Oh, maybe even more. You saw Scott. Scott posted he was over there 3 or 4 days.
4 days he was at 5 or 6.
5,800, I think. So.
Yeah.
But kudos to all those LSU fans. They represented and look, we all are partial with these championship teams because they mean so much to this economy. But for Omaha, can you imagine? That had to be the best ever as far as impact monetarily. I don't even get into the Jello shots. You and I got tired of that very soon. But
guys, I was a bit of the Grinch on that Jello shot stuff. I tell you, after day 2, I was tired of it already. I got to admit.
But anyway, a great year. We mentioned
for a good cause, I will say that.
When we mentioned this Pride Roofing and we talked about Brian Kelly was going to bring back Pride, but I got to ask you seriously, we both thought that Mulkey would be the first one to win it, and it makes sense that Dave Johnson, who was
man, but that was close. I don't know that I kind of thought Jay might win it first because I thought Mulkey was a year early.
Yeah, well, Mulkey was a year early, but Jay Johnson's a year early. I know he was number 1 preseason, number 1 for 12 weeks. It is hard. Baseball is a game of failure. And they were number 1 for 12 weeks, and they went into the can. And to get them to regain their confidence, play better fundamentally, and hit and make the plays, man, I don't know anybody that thought they were going to come out the loser's bracket. Most people I talked to when they lost to Wake Forest 3-2 said they don't have enough pitching to get out of the loser's bracket, and that's what is also part of this great story.
All right, guys. Rick also asks, Kyle Peterson, they had the toughest road to the national championship he can remember. I think absolutely. LSU's side of the bracket had to get through Wake Forest, a Tennessee team who you're familiar with.
Best 3 pitching staffs in the country. Wake Forest is 1, Tennessee's 2, Florida's 3. Stats, best 3 pitching teams in the country, as we know.
And then to come through the loser, having to play that additional game.
Pretty special.
Let me scroll down here and get one. American Patriot, the super chat. Thank you. Rocco's will be an LSU fan for life. Absolutely. Yeah. While I maybe grew tired of it quickly, of the Jello shot updates, it did go to a great cause. And so that's fantastic. All right, guys. I tell you what I want to do. I want to talk about Mike and Alex with Pride Roofing, and they've got a lot going on, and let's hear from them.
Hey, it's Michael and Alex again with Pride Roofing. Here we grow again. Did your roof get to Niger and Hurricane Ida?
The insurance company is playing game with you.
Don't forget, August 29th is your 2-year anniversary to make a claim.
Your neighbor got new roof, why not you?
Pay your deductible. We're fortified, certified.
We do your roof, you came on the Pride umbrella, bet on Pride.
855
Pride
16.
I talked to Mike Faraday earlier tonight, and they're expanding big time. A full-blown facility down in Houma, Louisiana that's about 2/3 of the way complete. He was telling me about a roll former machine that they bought from Spokane, Washington. The type of equipment that they have between Pride Roofing and Crown Metals is through the roof. The one installed in Albany is going to get moved down to Houma. And he's also got a 21-foot trim machine that's made in Switzerland that's about to arrive. And so you got a lot of roofing companies out there, but not a lot of them that are in the manufacturing side of it that have the capabilities that they do, especially now with the Crown Metals and that acquisition, and be able to do a lot of metal roofs, which is really come in big time. A lot of residences are going to metal roofs. You're seeing it all over South Louisiana. And of course, but right now, we had the big hail damage last week. And if you have any damage or your insurance companies need multiple bids, call them at 855-PRIDE-16. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait, and they'll pay for you to get free TigerBait premium free for a year.
Hey, had one of the Baton Rouge guys, Vernon, come on the show with us a couple, 3 weeks ago. 275-2041, Government Street location. As Mike alluded to, metal roofs are incredibly hot. No pun intended. Hey, folks, the great thing about Pride Roofing is that they care, and I talked to Mike a little bit about this today, and I said, man, how do you and your workers handle this incredible heat? They are very smart and very safe. He says sometimes it may take a little bit longer. We've got to get up there early and do our job, but they take great pride in the job they do for you. All we ask is that you give them an opportunity. Look, we know that everybody and their brother is running roofing commercials on TV. Give these guys an opportunity. Alex, Mike, and his great staff, once again, you will not be disappointed. And look, let's knock on wood and hope that we get through with a good hurricane season. But for those of you who like to hit the golf ball, get out in that heat, doing jobs on the roof, hey, stay hydrated. This is some dangerous heat.
Absolutely.
And so, but they're taking care of you. Official sponsor, TigerBait.com, Buddy Sports Talk, and Southeastern Athletics. Talk to Mike about that with the gymnasium and all. So they are doing great things across this South Louisiana part of the country.
All right, let's scroll through and get some of the comments. Okay, Kenny Fudge just says, good evening, Mike and Buddy. Todd Davis, don't forget Ty Floyd, 17 Ks.
Yes, sir.
Jim Kelmer, hello, Tiger fans. So happy for the national championship. My favorite play was by the first baseman, Trey Morgan. Absolutely.
I saw an angle last night at the celebration from the back. You do not realize how quickly he anticipated and started running full speed to get that ball. Tim Tebow would have never got to play. Remember, he went too far back with the delivery. But the incredible shot put toss, and then Milazzo with the swing and the tag, going to go down, if not the greatest defensive play, but certainly in the top
Well,
three.
and that's one of those plays where, for Jay Johnson, he's able to point to that and the amount of work that they put into that. They all said to a man how much that they practiced that and the extra work that they put in for that exact situation. And a lot of it attributed to playing small ball teams like Kentucky in the Super. And because they worked on it, it was a big part of LSU getting the national championship. But it shows the younger teams, younger guys on the roster that what Jay Johnson and his staff are teaching, it matters.
LSU will be hiring a pitching coach. The people I talked to, Mike, say Jay has talked to a bunch of people. Look, he keeps his cards very close to the vest. So, one thing about Jay Johnson, remember when he was named the baseball coach, nobody had that scoop, maybe a couple hours before. But you will get a great pitching coach, and you will get a ton of transfer portal guys in here. And then you got to go with the process.
That's what I've been loving that. I mean, every chance he gets. I don't know why anybody in the transfer portal wouldn't want to come here. Or what did he say? I didn't pay attention to that. I've been too busy working on 2024, he said last night. And believe me, you said it the other day. Like, I mean, when does he have time for anything else? I mean, he is just baseball around the clock. I don't know if he fishes. I don't know if he golfs. I haven't heard of any hobbies. It's just baseball nonstop.
Baseball and his family.
Clint Phillips, I'm from the parish, went through Tulane, Oregon State, Kentucky, Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Florida. We beat the best teams to win the title. It makes it that much sweeter. Ty Floyd's game was bigger than Skeen's.
Ty Floyd got squeezed a lot by umpires. I'm in too good a mood tonight to talk about the umpiring, but other than that screw job and shaft job that Casey Moiser gave LSU in the Wake Forest game, he squeezed Ty Floyd. And 17 Ks, 2 more than Brett Laxton. Fantastic, man. When you start talking about pitching, you talk about Skeens and Ty Floyd, those are incredible performances.
American Patriots, I love the Berkman bobblehead.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of Skip's favorite stories he tells. The way they used to get his name wrong. Birchman. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Skip Bertman had a lot to do with talking to Jay Johnson. And when Jay was so wound up, it was right getting ready to go into SEC baseball tournament and postseason. Remember, Skip went to that press conference and said, hey, let me talk to you. And then he wanted to find Wes Johnson to talk to him. But kudos to Skip. Everybody loves him.
He was out there last night. As hot as it was, I'm like, man, look at Skip. I mean.
And still sharp as a tack.
I mean, there weren't many elderly people that I would want out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if Skip will get mad at calling him elderly, but I wouldn't want a grandparent or my mom or dad out there.
My doctor didn't want me out there.
Yeah. Let's see. Bayou Bingo, Mike and Buddy, I'd love to see a national championship in men's basketball in my lifetime. We've seen it in many other sports at LSU, and I was on a Mobile station yesterday in the afternoon, and they asked me, does this put any pressure on Brian Kelly? And I said, no. I said, I think, people are reasonable with Brian Kelly. I mean, he'll tell you that he's not where he wants to be, 2 or 3 key injuries, and he's not where he wants to be with his peer group in that regard. But I still think they're going to go 11-1. But I think it really does put the pressure on Matt McMahon. I think that program has got to get, start getting some excitement in the program where you, at least through transfer portal or something, where you've got some, something out there that provokes people to want to go buy season tickets.
Well, look, I know that I wore this hat tonight because the Masters, and right now there are 4 majors, as most people know. Women's and men's basketball, 1, 2, baseball, 3, football, 4. So 4 major sports right now. Look, no disrespect to gymnastics, they finished 4th in the country. No disrespect to Dennis Shaver. Once again, men and women track finished top 5, I think. But football is the cash cow, and we know how much it means. 2 weeks from Monday is SEC Media Days in Nashville. A lot of talk that LSU, Alabama are going to be close to being picked in the West. Georgia's going to be the pick in the East. Georgia will be the overall pick. But I still think, and you and I have talked about this, he's one more recruiting year away from being 85-man strong like he wants to be. And in case you missed it in all the baseball news, NCAA did it again. Unlimited Scullies again this year, moving forward, as long as you don't exceed 85.
That show again I was on, I asked them that because they brought that up. How close is the voting going to be between LSU and Alabama by the media for the West? I think it's going to be really close. Alabama will get it, but the vote total will be close. But the bigger question is who's third? Is it Ole Miss or is it A&M? And I think it's going to be Ole Miss.
I do too.
And so what does that say? Because Ole Miss is full of holes. You
well,
know.
their defense is a question that, whether peak Golding. But look, it's irrelevant because LSU is preseason pick 5. You got to line up and play. But LSU is closing that gap between Georgia and Alabama and LSU as far as personnel. We're excited. We'll do practice reports. Believe it or not, it's hit me on the way over
Well,
here.
you just brought him up. Bart Smokey just got it with a question.
Well, I'm just going to say, you realize, can you believe this? We're like about 5 weeks away from football practice.
It's going to be huge. And,
Unbelievable, folks.
And Bart asked, will there be any improvements to Alex Box before next year, maybe bullpen? I haven't heard anything.
I've heard they want to move the bullpens, but, everybody wants to do everything. Let's build a new PMAC. Let's do it takes money, and obviously there's a great time to ask for money after a national championship or two. But I think bullpen is a possibility. All that other stuff, you're going to have a little patience. This is Louisiana, folks.
When he first got here, and people were like, man, you need to do something with that. And he's like, what? Because he was looking at Alex Box like, man, are y'all crazy? And we were like, give him time. Wait till he goes around in the SEC a few times, and then he'll start to say, okay, yeah, we might be need to do this third base line or have some, unique features out there that makes more alive out there. I don't know, whatever it might be. But I'm assuming he's going to be getting something soon, and they've got a big idea for it.
Intimidator will get obviously enhanced for next year, and in the champions room with the Hall of Fame and the Wally Pond stuff, they have already put the 2023 logo up there. So 7. And Mike, LSU has never lost a national championship game in baseball. They've been in the championships 8 times. They've won all of the single games. They had the 2 games against Florida that they didn't get into the last game. And then, of course, this one, they won this game, a championship game. Skip never lost a championship game. And
but that deal in Omaha is exactly why O'Sullivan wanted the LSU job. Mm-hmm. The support.
Absolutely.
You saw it in Omaha.
Yeah. Well, and Florida baseball.
And he's gotten everything. He's got great facilities. They finally buckled in, but that's still not support.
Yeah.
That's not fannies.
They get 2,000 or 3,000 for the game, Mike.
Yeah.
Florida.
And by the way, Florida Field, that you think 20, 30 years ago, when you say what were the toughest venues in all of college football, I mean, Florida, sometimes it'd be LSU or Florida. Nobody even talks about Florida anymore. It's fallen out of the top 10. Their fans are not supporting, and it's my understanding, talking to a Gator fan of mine, that they've got a lot of blue bloods that are students there, and they just don't care about football. And I don't know. It's odd what's happened there.
Well, Billy Napier will be under a tremendous amount of pressure
He's not going to make it.
Next year, too. I don't think he makes it either.
I don't think he's going to make it. I'm not seeing anything on the recruiting front that's going to make him turn that, particularly catching up with Georgia. Rick asked, Mike, what's your take on the chances of landing Moses for the 24 class? Hearing he had a great visit. Yeah?
Keelan Moses?
Yeah, but he's 25.
Yeah, right. I think he'll be an LSU Tiger.
Yeah.
Now, what position does he come in and play?
I think Matt House has a really, really good relationship with him.
Yeah, he's a linebacker. Now, Andy Martin is going to use him once again in as a running back. And we know Andy's got a quarterback coming in from Mississippi, so U-High is going to be loaded once again.
Yeah, and I was laughing, and I messaged Andy during camp because one of the first things I noticed was Lamar Brown. He was saying all along, I think he's going to be an offensive lineman. And the first thing I noticed, and before anybody else, was Lamar was there working with Brad Davis at camp and on the offensive line. And I think that kid's could very well be the next Will Campbell. I mean, they lined him up against Tut Cobbins. And for a guy who doesn't play offensive line and he's a sophomore, he held his own because Cobbins is speed personified. And Lamar Brown's going to be interesting to see how he develops, but he's going to be a Will Campbell, Emory Jones national recruit on either side of the ball. But I think if it ends up being offensive line, he could even be more special.
And this upcoming season, folks, you're going to see LSU have more offensive line depth than they have had in recent memory. How quickly will Lance Hurd get in the mix? The big kid from Maryland, how quickly is he going to get acclimated? Of course, he's here now, but, man, you get acclimated to the speed and obviously the heat and what's expected to training in the summer months. But, man, when you look at the additions to the O-line and then you look at the potential of D-line, I know we talk corners and safeties, but it is going to be an interesting, when we get out there, there's going to be a lot of depth compared to last year. I'm talking lots of depth.
In a lot of positions.
Yeah.
And even though we say that the biggest concern is corner, there is depth there.
Mm-hmm.
The question is there some, DBU caliber starters there, which you're used to seeing at LSU in the last 15 to 20 years, over 20 years now.
They gave out the Freak of the Week award the last 2 weeks. LaTerrence Welch won it the first year. He's going to have a look-see to start at corner. Guess who won it the second week? Garrett Nussmeier. He is getting bigger and stronger, and once again, he knows next year has his opportunity to start. But, man, Welch, obviously, can Denver Harris get his act together? What's Isaiah Alexander going to bring to the table? Zach Chestnut, who wasn't around in the spring. Going to be a lot of fun to follow, folks.
Absolutely. PCG says Florida should be ashamed of how few people are in Omaha. Doug knows Mama is in charge of Moses this go round. Daddy don't have a say after the way Bama handled and ruined his brother. Yeah, I just think this is a whole different. I've felt for several years that the vibe is different, but
yeah,
yeah. Now, yeah. All right, let me scroll up here and see if I missed any. Give me 1 second.
Shout out to all of our loyal viewers that have been with us all year long. And Mike, it is hard to believe that when you look up, we're talking about July 4th weekend. As always, folks, celebrate the independence and make sure you always give props to our military people and the people who protect us throughout this crazy world we live in now. But, man, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the calendar and talking about SEC Media Days, and then it hits me. August, 2, 3, or 4 practice?
That's what's great about baseball going so long.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's been a great seamless transition.
Now, when the baseball team gets knocked out of in Hattiesburg, and it makes it's depressing for me because you've got such a gap. But the camp season is one thing, but there's a lot of trudgery in that in June. But baseball doing what they did. I mean, like you said, SEC Media Days here, and before you know it, practice will start. We're assuming, somewhere in that first few days of August. And before you know it, it'll be that Sunday on Labor Day weekend.
Goes by quick.
Orlando.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out if we're going to head to that one or not. Chance Babin, one of our great regulars. I know it's officially football season countdown, but I'll miss baseball. What a great season.
Mike, I'll never believe how gripping this 10 days was. LSU played Tennessee on a Saturday and took care of business. And then they played Wake Forest in that really, really tight game where Ty Floyd got squeezed once again, and LSU lost a one-run game. And so all of a sudden you go, Frick. They ain't got enough pitching to win out of the loser bracket. And the other guy says, yeah, I know. Well, it's still been a good year, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, every little piece to the puzzle that Tiger Shark called and Jay Johnson listened to fell into place. Ackenhausen was certainly one of the big surprises.
Man, every guy that just gave LSU fans heartburn.
But look, you're on the edge of your seat watching these games.
All those pitchers look like the best guys in all of college baseball.
I got Joe at Rouse's saying they're killing me. Boss man saying these games are killing me. I got people at the bank going, oh my God, I can't believe that game last night. You watch, it really gripped LSU, and what a great transition now for Brian Kelly. You know, the last 3 football coaches at LSU all won a natty, and the 2 coaches that just finished up real here lately, Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson, won a natty. You know he's going to work his F11 butt off to bring a natty in football. You just know. Yeah. Now, will it happen? Nobody knows the date. I think it's going to happen. We just don't know the date.
Edo got the crab, says Baton Rouge become the home of natties. If there was a natty for sports analysts, Mike and Buddy would win a natty.
Well, Krabs has been a great friend to the show, and he gets on me for not being on Twitter and all those other things. But Krabs, we love you, and all of those great where's Snake? I mean, Snake's been there.
Oh, absolutely.
Scott's been there. Just so many, and that's what's so fun. I had a bunch of callers the last week or so. Nothing like having a natty bring out, because look, folks, if we're talking politics, religion, sex, this, that, all the crazy stuff, everybody's going back and forth. It is amazing the bonding that sports brings everybody together. And that was the potpourri of the state of Louisiana and Omaha. And you can say all you want about our politics and our roads and all the crap we deal with on a daily basis. But the last 2 championship games that people cared about against Iowa, Coach Mulkey, and obviously Monday night against Florida, those teams made LSU proud. And how cool is this? Joe Burrow, Angel Reese, and Dylan Cruz, spur of the moment, man, shows the motor, gets to third base and says, I got to do it to ring. So
I loved it. PC&G, does baseball have a staff to help with in recruiting like football? Man, Jay's the recruiting guy.
Josh Jordan is his recruiting coordinator, but Jay, I think, is incredibly involved and definitely the closer. He talked about flying out to Colorado to see Skeens, flying out to California to. So I would say this particular head coach probably.
He doesn't delegate it.
Yeah, I think he's got more hands-on.
He has staff, but he's highly involved, and he's not sitting back and waiting for a guy to bring in players and, you know.
Got a lefty coming in.
Who did you bring me?
Lefty coming in from Xavier. Got a right-handed reliever from Bama and a shortstop second baseman from South Carolina, and there is more to come.
After saying LSU needs defensive tackles in 24, he says, where does LSU stand in the recruitment of Melvin Hills from LCA? Good question. I need to reach out to Melvin. I have not talked to him in a while. I asked about him. I didn't see him at camp. There was LCAA guys that came into various camps, but he was not one of them. But I do think he might have snuck in for an unofficial. But I need to get more information on him, and I'll get on that. Let's see here. Buddy, that Ump Moser was definitely squeezing Floyd. Even Ben McDonald tweeted a picture of a paper plate describing the strike zone.
Oh, man. And this is one of the things I spent a lot of time talking about on this show. And I said basically that the umpiring had sucked. I gotta give them some credit. Other than the Casey Moiser game, I thought they did a relatively good job with balls and strikes. And we talked about it. Thatcher Hurd needs to get the corner. Now, Paul Skeens is so good, he don't need it. It doesn't matter if he's got a strike zone. Mike, I will never live, and you will never live long enough to see another LSU pitcher have a game and hit 100 on the jugs gun 35 times in one game. It's unprecedented. There's only 2 major league pitchers that have done that, folks. So special. But you didn't get as pissed off about the umpires as I did. But, man, that Casey Moiser, let me tell you what. I don't know how big he is, but he will always pay triple for his beignets and coffee in New Orleans.
Here's one. Chance Babbitt asked Mike, what do you know about the offensive line from North Carolina who's committing Friday, LSU in the mix? That's Ethan Callaway, had a great visit. A lot of pundits out there making predictions on LSU for him, but he did have a fantastic visit to LSU. You had the kid from Beaumont who came in. A lot of people thought he was heading to LSU, and then he wasn't. Committed A&M on Monday. Brad.
And then, of course, as we know, a bang-bang play at the plate and breaks his leg. But just to be able to get all of those guys, the blood, sweat, the tears, the guts, the purple and gold, all in the same room, all on the same page, back to the O-lineman. I'm not worried about O-linemen anymore, man. You got this thing rolling. Now, you're not going to have your guy from Calacaha and Will and Lance Hurd come around every year or two, but I like what Brad Davis is doing.
Sorry about that, guys. New setup, got stuff basically duct taped in place and getting a feel for the new digs, and we're going to be getting it dialed in as football season approaches. Thanks to all you guys being with us tonight. We got a little bit more of the show left, but if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to our channel, which we've been growing by leaps and bounds, please hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell. As we load up new content, you'll immediately get alert to your cell phone if you've got the YouTube app installed on your iPhone or Android device. We've got so much LSU content coming your way and more on the way. New products coming to TigerBait in time for football season, and we'll let you know as we roll that stuff out. But hit the subscribe button, notification bell.
And look, one thing that was interesting, Jacques did a great job. I'm going to give kudos to all those guys. I thought Matt Trent and Michael Copper from Channel 2, Chessa Boucher, Brian Holland from WVLA, and obviously Jacques and his staff. Just fantastic getting all of these great interviews. But Jacques did have a quick chat with Jerry Johnson, the dad of Jay Johnson. And, man, this guy was a fantastic coach. And
that one put a lump in your throat.
Oh, but look, he ended it with this: nobody will ever outwork Jay Johnson. And what is it about Baton Rouge? I ask you this; it sounds kind of sappy, but Brian Kelly came over here, and I mean, he's a shirt and tie guy from Notre Dame, and now all of a sudden he's dancing with Walker Howard on a video. He's eating Cheetos after the game. He's having coconuts to go for 2 and beat Nick Saban his first time in Tiger Stadium, get to Atlanta in year 1. He's a different guy. That guy is nowhere to be found in South Bend. Now you got Jay Johnson uptight. He's doing the Tommy last night. And you see how big his arms is. I mean, him and you could lift some weight together. But what my point is that kudos to you, the LSU Nation, because you change people. You show people how important this is to all of us, and they want to do the best that they can do, but they change, Mike.
I mean, just the video and the views of the hotel, and the LSU crowds, paving the way for them on the way to the stadium each day in Omaha. I mean, that was insane. I mean, that's absolutely impressive, and. And the ESPN announcers, without trying to be homers and tilted so much to LSU, I mean, they couldn't help but acknowledge just how big the LSU fan base was the entire 2 weeks up there.
By the way, congratulations to Bill Frank. Has just another unbelievable job. He truly is one of the best SID in all of baseball, the way he handles media relations. And it is a good time to be a Tiger fan. I know we said that at the beginning of the year, that 2023 had a chance to be special. And don't put too much pressure on the head coach, Brian Kelly, with football. But, Mike, this is pretty special for the people. How the Chris Guillots, who went all the basketball games in postseason and all of the Omaha and all, I don't know how they can afford it, but the LSU fan base is unbelievable, and the impact they have is second to none.
Yeah, it's we're seeing it right now, and we're going to talk about Alumni Hall in a little bit here. This baseball thing is, of course, now because it's so fresh, we're comparing the national championships between women's basketball, and of course, women's basketball had an advantage of the semester being in and being able to have a parade on campus, and of course, that looked a little bit bigger. Of course, it's the summertime.
Yeah,
It's not the same animal.
Students wasn't here, and
yeah. So,
but Pipes Franquez did a great job emceeing last night. That's not easy to do, to introduce all those dignitaries and then interview the players.
Fill a little bit for me, buddy, while I get this dialed in. Talk about anything you want to talk about.
Well, we just want to recap what we have on our plate here. As most of you know, we hope all of you are safe and grill up your favorite foods for 4th of July. You'll see some people taking vacation. Next thing you know, you have the hype and the media tour. And most of you know there have been a lot of off-season things happening. Brian Kelly made national news talking about transparency and getting a grip on NIL. And he said, look, I didn't have to go to Washington. Nick Saban didn't have to go to Washington. We're the big oil companies. We're not going to get left behind. But some of these smaller schools, so now the NCAA, I don't know if you've seen this, but they keep sending out these overtures and emails. Well, guess what? They were going to have more penalties for this and that. That all being said, I think you got to be confident that as long as you have Gordon McKernan and Todd Graves and the local support that you have with NIL, let's be honest, they take a lot of pride in helping LSU. And LSU could not have achieved some of these things without people getting in on NIL. That's been a big part. That and the transfer portal. And who would have thought it when you hired those 3 coaches, they'd have this quick a success?
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's talk about Alumni Hall. And, of course, you want to show your LSU Tiger pride. Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience, the best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Nike, Nike Golf, Champion, Columbia, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, hats, Yeti, gifts, and accessories. LSU students, faculty, and military receive 10% off in-store every day. So that includes LSU National Championship merchandise. And you can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Alumni Hall, located in Perkins Row, or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. And I've been on the horn and through email with their staff, and they are getting more and more national championship gear in stock. Do me a favor. You can shop anywhere. If you're going to shop online, and you want to buy some national championship gear, go to TigerBait. Click on the link on the front page of TigerBait. Our relationship with them, we get a few points, a little bit of commission program. Go through us, and it helps everything we do here at TigerBait. But they're adding new national championship items every day, and they're right there in Perkins Row. The great thing about them is if you order something, it's shipping from the Baton Rouge store. If you order something online and you're out of town, in Alexandria or wherever, and you're driving through and you want to return it in the store or make an exchange, you can do that here locally. And so it's absolutely fantastic. A beautiful store in Perkins Row. Go by and see them.
And look, man, how cool was that cap, that LSU cap that Kings had last night? So many new products come in. Go by and see. And as I always tell you, don't go in there for 5 or 10 minutes. You need 20 to 30 minutes to go through all this.
Yeah, Alumni Hall is in Baton Rouge, Tennessee. It's in Baton Rouge. They're based out of Tennessee. They have brick and mortar stores in key SEC towns. And they're doing NIL. They're a big part of the community involved with NIL with LSU players. So they are keeping the money local.
And they've got some skiing stuff in there.
Absolutely. Chance Babin, LSU has some amazing branding this year with football, women's basketball, and now baseball. Money can't buy the free advertising we had.
Yeah, by the way,
By the way, American Patriot, I'm sorry, buddy. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the viewers called in and said about a national championship in men's basketball. Let's go one step first, one step at a time. Got to get to the Final Four and win a game. LSU's never won a game in men's basketball history in the Final Four. They've never won a game ever with the women until this year. So I think football is certainly on the more priority list. Matt McMahon is going to get better. You mentioned more pressure on him. Look, they all put a lot of pressure.
Well,
Scott Woodward's going to give him a chance.
Yeah, he's not in trouble. I mean, we know what he inherited. It's now we finally know what the end all be all was. You know, you can say LSU didn't get anything, but in reality, the length of time that they spent, giving a verdict, that was basically a probation in itself.
Yeah.
So.
But I guess what I'm saying is men's basketball is on the bottom of that ladder as far as possibilities. Let's see if they can get better in year two, and then after that, there's no doubt Matt McMahon's got to do a better job with NIL and transfer portal. But he's going to have a solid team, and as we know, Mike, the ladies have a big trip in November, right around Thanksgiving. So. I think he makes a great point. Chance makes a great point. The LSU brand is probably as strong as it's ever been. And, oh, by the way, Livy Dunn was in Omaha. I won't give you any scoop. But
well, you saw in our championship video, did y'all see that last night? Preston was out there with one camera. I had my camera on the other side. And at the beginning of our championship coverage, there's over an hour there. We had the whole thing on our YouTube channel. He had Livy Dunn waving to him in the camera. So she's right there in the first few minutes.
That's the best shout-out Preston's ever had in his life. Livy, I hate to tell you this, baby, but
you should have never done that. It's all over his Facebook. He'll live off that for years.
But he's taken Livy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's married. Let's see here. Rick says, how about the LSU fans applauding for the Wake Forest team coming back from that loss on Thursday night after 11 innings?
By the way, in case you missed it, it came out today. Trey Morgan told the story. And this is also another great part of the LSU locker room. So they're over there, and they're getting ready to play Wake Forest in the big game. Paul Skeens and Rhett Lauder. Both are going to go in the top 10. And, look, I think it's the best played game from start to finish LSU baseball ever. I know everybody always says it's the best, but, man, that was high-quality baseball, up and down, great pitching. But anyway, Trey tells a story that, Thatcher's getting something from DoorDash, and all of a sudden, so he goes down in the lobby, and the guy says, yeah, DoorDash. And Thatcher said, yeah. He says, oh, you Rhett L., which is Rhett Lauder. He said, yeah. So, make a long story short, he took Rhett Lauder's DoorDash lunch, and, of course, everybody laughed about it before the game. And, of course, Jay Johnson said that's the only run we got on Rhett Lauder. But that really, I'm going to tell you what, with the walk-off, that 2-0 game, I could watch that baby another 10 times this season.
Well, I mean, they all say it. I mean, you look at the talking heads on ESPN, and they all say that's the greatest college baseball game they've ever seen. And it was a heck of a deal. I'm sitting there watching it, and I say, this is the guy who can end it right here. Here it is, and boom, it happened. Not acting like I'm Nostradamus, but yeah, you just felt like something was about to give. All right, guys. Here it is. Less is more. It's great to be an LSU Tiger. And all right. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Buddy for being with me. New studio. We're going to get it tweaked. We're going to get some of the shadows off the wall. But thanks to all of you. Hit the like button, share. If you're not a TigerBait Premium subscriber, please go to the site. Try us out for $1. We got a lot going on our premium side. You're going to get text alerts for breaking news, all of our premium content, our newsletter, sent out a big one earlier today. Brian put out a big baseball recruiting update on our message board a few days ago. That's still easily found. Go to TigerBait.com after the show. Try us out for $1 if you're an LSU fan. And we'll be back here next week. Thanks for all of you for participating. And go Tigers.